Mahalakshmi, don't worry. Don't worry. You can hear it. We can't.
Okay, good. Thanks.
We are live now. We can start.
Good evening. I'm Mahalakshmi, your host for this evening. On behalf of all of us at AECET, I wish to extend a very warm welcome to all our participants who have joined us this evening from across the length and breadth of India, Jammu and Kashmir in the north, to Kerala in the south, Assam in the northeast, and Punjab and Rajasthan in the northwest. Amazing, isn't it? Thank you for being here today. A short note of who we are. What is AECET? Vaibhavi? So short background. I will do it without the slide. So AECET is an organization. Thank you. It was started for quality care and education for all children. We have a long story. Established in 1964 to bring together professionals in the field of ECCE, it was started in New Delhi in Lady Irwin College, Department of Child Development, in the presence of eminent educationists. Named the Indian Association for Preschool Education. And I'm proud to say I was a member right from 84 when I started teaching. I was also the secretary for the Coimbatore branch. So IAP was dissolved in 2008 and evolved into a new avatar, AECD, quite recently. Can we go a little slow, Vaibhavi? So AECD works with government functionaries at the state level and the national level. It has provided recommendations and also helped the national government in the NEP. You can see some prominent leaders of AECD, stalwarts of ECCE, who have rendered enormous contribution to the development of early childhood education in India. The national office, which is at the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, does plenty of work, advocacy on national policies, holds conferences and seminars, webinars for parents, provides teacher resources, acknowledges good practices and practitioners, which we are going to witness today, networking with organizations working in the field of ECE. The branches are helped by the national office also. They by offering consultancy. There are refresher courses. We network with different people who work for ECE, professional development workshops, parent connect workshops, advocacy, and information on parenting, etc. There are e-newsletters brought out by the Mumbai branch, two e-newsletters. They are sent to all the members, and we invite each and every one of you to share any good practices that you may be practicing in your schools. AECD is affiliated to the Network for Information on Parenting set up by Balamandir Research Foundation at Chennai. So this is a pictorial tool that was developed. In 2023-24, we conducted many spotlight webinars highlighting the exemplary practices of organizations from India and abroad. The Mumbai branch is also having parenting workshops for the corporate sector, a sound personality and efficient employee. So please come and join us. All of you are interested in doing the best by the little ones or the youngest children. Please become members. We have a 1-year membership, 3-year membership, and 5 years, institutional and individual. Please contact us. Thank you. That was a short note of who we are. I'm sure you are all eagerly waiting to listen and hear about who you are going to be meeting now. It's my pleasure to welcome and introduce our guests for the day to showcase, who have joined us today to showcase JDS Bal Bhavan. I'm happy and proud to introduce Ms. Anjali, the principal of JB Bal Sadan School, who has 34 years of extensive experience in ECCE, and she's the driving force behind this excellent institution. Welcome you, ma'am. So happy to have you on board with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kabir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kabir Vajpayee, the architect, co-founder of Vinyas. Thank you to have you here, sir. It's a pleasure that you are here with us. He was elected as Ashoka Fellow for a lifetime in 2012. So that must be a great honor. Dr. Preeti Vajpayee, architect. She's also the co-founder of Vinyas. She has a PhD on school-built environment as a learning resource for all children. And I think this is something that all of us are going to learn from them today, how you can transform your environment to make your learning much, much better for all the little ones under your care. Thank you so much. We are looking forward to listening to you. Anjali ma'am, I think the limelight is on you first.
Yes, ma'am.
So can you please, I would like to know, I'm sure all of us are waiting to hear from you. I would like to know something more about your school. What is the vision and mission of your organization? Though it's a preschool.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just take a second to share my PPT. Just a minute. Let the PPT start.
Sure.
Yeah. Is it visible? Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So, our vision, we want to provide happy, positive, stimulating early childhood experiences, which hopefully will be the foundation for a fulfilling life ahead. We have the understanding that children are active and emotional learners. Every child is born with a great sense of curiosity and desire to learn and explore. So we provide experiences which they may not be able to have at home. But we understand the home environment is the first school and also has a huge influence in their learning and development. So our vision is joyful learning to develop creative, innovative, responsible, positive, and sensitive leaders for a better world.
Nice.
For our mission, we have taken the actionable points, the key points. That is, first is joyful learning. Now, we want our children to be natural learners. We want that the learning should happen in a natural way. Then creative and innovative. We want the teachers to have a research attitude, and child's innate creativity and innovative abilities will be encouraged. Then for responsible, self-discipline and responsible in his or her action. This is very important for children. So the next one is positive and sensitive. Here we want to instill empathy and sensitivity in the children towards the environment, for their self, and of course for everyone. So this is our vision and mission.
Thank you, ma'am. So how do you, I mean, they are quite lofty, isn't it? Ideals that we want to instill in your children. So I would love to
Yeah.
know how children learn at your school. How do they develop these besides the academic readiness that they acquire?
Yeah.
Could you please throw
So
some light on that?
yeah, sure. Young children learn only and only through their first-hand repeated experiences, using their senses. Learning is taking all the time. So the job of the teacher is to cash on the opportunities. The first is teaching learning should be joyful. Of course, everybody believes in this. So what we do, we have the pedagogical approaches are interesting and relevant. So the learning becomes joyful. Then the child moves from familiar to unfamiliar. Here we build up the understanding, because when the child is moving from what is familiar to him, he understands more. Then, based on the previous experiences, his learning, the child's learning is based on previous experiences. Here we build up on the child's strength. Whatever understanding he has, we are building on the child's strength. Then every child, we believe, everyone believes that every child has a different learning pace. So we have to reach out to each child. So we treat each child as an individual. The learning is not confined within the four walls of the school. So it's not confined between the four walls of the classroom. So we take the children outside. We have stories under the tree. We have stories on the ramps. They are in the corridors. They are in the courtyards. So it's learning is happening everywhere. They are learning from everyone. Then lot of exposure is given for sensory stimulation. We believe that we follow also, we believe also, we practice also the 9 senses of monsoon. So it becomes lifelong for them. Then the teacher works as a facilitator. She just provides the environment and intervenes only when the child gets stuck. Children are allowed to make mistakes, and we believe that these mistakes become their experiences. So opportunities are given to them to make mistakes. Then there is no comparison, no competition. Every child learns at their own natural pace. So a lot of opportunities are given. The environment is provided by the teacher so that every child's needs are being met out. The next is our concepts are weaved in concepts are weaved in the curriculum in a spiral way. Why? Because every child has a different learning style. So we have to see that it goes to each child and we are able to reach out to each child. Then, of course, the peer group learning. It's not only the learning that is happening, it's also they are discussing with each other, observing each other, evaluating each other, sharing each other, and talking to each other.
Thank you, ma'am. I noticed that
Yeah.
learning is happening both inside the classroom, the corridors, the terrace, etc. I'm curious to know how the day unfolds in your preschool. Could you please?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. As soon as the children arrive, they are being greeted by the teachers who are at the gate, at the entrance, at the classroom door. Why? Because they get the same warmth which they get at home from their mother. So they are coming from one home to the other. As soon as they arrive, it is an autonomous morning. As the children slowly arrive, they freely choose any activity that attracts them. When the child feels comfortable in the school, she learns and accepts structured activities. These structured activities are designed to suit the child's age, interest, and ability. Ringing the bell distracts the flow of the classroom, and a certain procedure of the day where the children understand that after sometimes it's project work or they are having a story time, they have to move for the other activity. So they have a known routine which they are familiar with. The first activity of the day is the circle time. In the morning, when children come to the school, they're very fresh. So this is the first formal time when children gather together on the mat. The teacher directs the activity. She decides what story and poem has to be taken along with many lessons on language and maths. She also leads the project discussion. She revises the past few days and then she introduces something new regarding the project. So you can see in the picture, the children are engrossed. The teacher is telling a story and the children are listening to it. And they are imagining themselves in the character because this is a natural thing of the children. Then the circle time ends with poems and songs. Children love singing and dancing. And we do poems and songs in a circle. They don't sit and do. They are standing in a circle and they love moving. You can see in the picture, they are so active. We have project. We take a project every month. So like you can see, the milk project is going on and the teacher is discussing about the project. The project approach is a detailed way of study. Every child is involved at their own level of understanding. It is based on experiential learning, observation of children, and it involves huge amount of literacy and numeracy. So now here, this is a beautiful activity. You can see a child is putting a window. We call it window activity. At initial stage, we do not teach alphabets because alphabets have no meaning to the child. But if he says, my father took me to fetch milk to the milkman, then I saw a buffalo. And immediately the teacher writes on the chalkboard, I saw a buffalo. Then the teacher asks the children, who all have their names with B, B, B? Many children raise their hands and they tell their names. After that, she calls one of the child and then she asks, can you put this window where you see the word, when you see the alphabet B, B, or buffalo? Then what happens? This is happening because they start recognizing words as a whole, because a lot of research has been done on whole language theory, and we are following the whole language theory. We see when a child is admitted to school, he has a large vocabulary because whatever the child has heard, he uses it in the school. Then here you can see children for the milk project. They have gone to a cow shed. They are seeing the calves. They are touching the calves. Then they are seeing the milking process is happening. And then they went to a dairy, Parag dairy. So there they saw how the milk is being packed. Then they brought the milk from there. Then the cuddling of milk is happening. And once, then they are making laddus of the extracted chena. So this is all how the project is developing. And then they are using milk as a face cleanser. And at the end, we have the wind up. This is this at the end of the project, the children prepare the wind up. The parents are invited where they see, discuss with their children, and come to know how their children are learning. It's the review of the project they had taken up. Then they enact, we have role plays, they do lot of, make poems, they do using rhyming words, and they do lot of theater activities. Then also we have nature curriculum in this. We believe that when children grow up in nature, they are more sensitive and peaceful. Many of our children come from the inner city where they do not have access to nature. The school makes an effort to compensate for this act of nature by offering activities with sand, water, clay, and soil. Fortunately, we have access to the natural world where children come in direct contact with nature. By observing the nature with all their senses, children build new brain pathways. And every month we take up a topic, theme, like we took up rain. So children did a lot of activities on rain. Then we took up mud, and then we took up leaf jewelry, leaves. So they made jewelry, they made those poop leaves, they were taking out sound of it.
Yes.
Then you can see the terrace being used. In the left picture, you can see children with the spoons and with the pebbles. They are making sound. They are taking sound. They have put them in the water, and see how they are noticing. They are enjoying, and they are telling, "Ma'am, I can hear the sound, but it's not that loud if we do it outside." So this is the base. Later on, when they will get these concepts, they will correlate it with their childhood experiences. And in the right picture, you can see they are moving their hands like a fish in the water. As a fish has a streamlined body, so they are doing it. And later on, when they study refraction, that time they will again connect it with that. This is happening on the terrace. Now, this is very important. Informal time is when children can direct their own play and be in charge of their own life. But the teacher is not informal, as she has done a lot of planning and preparation. This is a wonderful time for the teacher to observe the children and find out their need, interest, and ability. She helps children when she sees children need more challenges, which you are seeing in the classroom. So now I'll show you our classroom design. We have different learning centers. And this is our classroom design, how the messy has a boundary. But the other learning centers are in the class, which is the fantasy, cutting, pasting area, manipulative library, and many more activities. So here you can see the block area. When children, these are very specially scientifically made blocks. And children, when they are playing with the blocks, they are developing language, they are knowing about shapes and sizes, they are sorting, matching, balancing, they are helping each other, they are developing risk-taking ability, teamwork is there, socialization is there, and then after all, they are having fun too. And then here you can see our library area is acquainted with books. See, our whole classroom is in such a, it's type of a lab. Our whole class is a lab. So the children use this lab. The work of the teacher is to only provide the environment. So this library area, they are becoming familiar with the books. They are learning to love stories. They learn how to use books. And once they use it, and of course they are having fun also. And once they use it, they rearrange it back, them back on the shelves. Then here, this is the messy area, the clay area, where you see children are using the clay and they have that, they are using the things. Many accessories are there, the molds are there. They are rolling, they are enjoying. And this is a pond clay. We use natural clay. We don't use artificial clay. And then they display it. All children's work is displayed. We don't have charts. We don't have other things in the class. Whatever the child is making, whatever the child has done, that work is displayed in the class. So it's child-directed classroom. So here you can see the painting area. The teacher early in the morning, when the teacher and the nursery nurse, they are in the school, they prepare the entire environment. The paints are there, the brushes are there, free hand painting is there. On the right side, you can see the manipulative area where they have lots of games to sort, match, pair, compare, repeat patterns. And they have a lot of activities which show parts to whole. So they are dismantling, they are assembling, they make patterns, puzzles are there, and they are managing themselves by cleaning up later. They are developing analytical ability, reasoning, what we talk every day. The schools are talking about HOTS, high order thinking, everything. It's
happening
through these learning centers. Yeah. So this is the cutting pasting area where we keep lots of cutouts, even old magazines, papers, where the children use the scissors, there is glue, and they do it and display it. Their work is displayed. And the teacher accepts whether the child has done it correctly or not, but the child's work is accepted. Because so then the self-esteem goes high. On the right side hand side, you can see in the fantasy area, the child has become, and she's dressed up and going for a party. So, and they follow the home chores, whatever they see their parents doing at home. So it's going on. So these are the exercises for practical life. And we have kept lots of things, rolling for pounding, uh, zipping and buttoning. So, and in the middle picture, you can see the control water play. They are limited to that space, but there is a funnel, there is a sieve, and the child is putting water, and he's seeing and he is observing how the flow is coming down. So through the sieve, it will come in bits and bits, but through this, it's coming in this thing. So, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that the letters of the alphabet are not introduced in rote fashion, isn't it? So
Yeah.
can you share how
Mhm.
you teach literacy and numeracy in the
Yeah,
school also?
sure, ma'am. So we see that maths is all around us. I'll give you an example because this is very common in our school. If we have a festival celebration, we call the child early. So now this early is a mathematical vocabulary which tells you before. So the child gets up early and he tells his mother that I have to reach uh, school at 8 o'clock. So now he or she will start dressing up, either leaving home at 7. So how the mathematical terms are coming, it's coming through matching, one-to-one correspondence, they classifying what they do, they put the twigs together, they put the leaves together, and then a lot of opportunities are given to the children for functional numeracy. We have integrated all this in our curriculum. Lots of concepts are taken up through daily activities which are relevant to the child's life. I'll just share a video.
Sure.
Here you can see we had a vegetable vendor in the campus, and the teacher is telling the children, see how the teacher is bringing the functional things in the campus, because they are seeing this at home too. So she's brought it, and the children are able to tell that he will return 30 rupees. So they are recognizing, they are understanding the money transaction right from the early age.
This is 110. This is 210. And this is 310. Means how many rupees he has?
So one more video I'll play. This is, see how this child, he's trying to write something. He is doing, this is on the terrace, and he has written, this child has written, make 5. So he's writing make 5. So, but there are different loose materials. We keep a lot of loose materials in the school. We follow the Nicholson's theory of loose parts. So the child, so see how he is trying to make it 5. So he has put, there are already seeds, and these are cassia seeds, which are, we have a tree, cassia tree. Yeah. So you can, see how the child is making the number 5.
1 minute.
And he's so observant. Teacher, there is nowhere you can see the teacher.
He's engrossed in doing it.
Yes, he's engrossed in it. So this is how the child is understanding what 5 means. How much is 5? It is not just writing the number 5. Now for language. Language activities happen throughout the day. Oral language is the basis of all learning. And so we approve the children talking throughout the day. Teachers take stories, discussions, and learning from the environment. Focuses on expression rather than rote learning. Even though children have not learned to write formally, they are constantly engaging with expressing through drawing and talking. We create spaces for children to talk. On the left-hand side picture, you can see the child has drawn and the teacher is writing for the child. So I'll show you a video also after that. And on the right-hand side picture, the child takes his or her attendance. The teacher is not involved. What the teacher has done, she's made pockets for each child and given a logo to the children. Each child has a logo, and the child is putting his logo in the pocket once he arrives in the school, in the classroom. So then he will tell you, ma'am, I'm present. Ma'am, my friend is there. He is also present. And then he'll tell you, there are 3 logos left in the basket. So 3 children are absent today. So again, we are talking about foundational literacy and numeracy. So I'll play one video on the child's dictation. Here, you see, the teacher is talking. What the child has drawn, the teacher is writing for the child. So he is understanding that what he speaks can be in writing also.
Monkey. Monkey. Naisha, what else you have drawn?
Now he's saying monkey पेड़ पर jump कर रहा है, and the teacher will write monkey is jumping on a tree.
Monkey is jumping
So this is how she repeats it. And then this is, we do webbing of the alphabets. And we try to draw out from the children. The teacher has written T. This we start from upper KG. Hindi we start from upper KG because from right from the entrance time, like from nursery, they are already listening to a lot of Hindi, lot of stories in Hindi. They are discussing. We are bilingual with them, and even at home they are talking. The parents are talking in Hindi. So it becomes easy for the child to pick up at the age when they are of 5 years. So she's written ta. Now the children came up with tomato. So the teacher drew the tomato and then she wrote tomato for them. So this is how the whole language theory is going on. So this is also very interesting. Cooking is an integrated activity. It integrates literacy, numeracy, social development, emotional development, and also life skills. They are allowed to speak and physically be involved. They have made Monaco toppings. In the beginning, when we had started this cooking activity, parents used to come to us and say, how can children do cooking at this early age? But now they have understood our philosophy and pedagogy, so they cooperate a lot. And these children, at the end, when they do it, they eat the product and they have lots of fun too. We have festival celebrations. We want them to be good citizens for a better world and, of course, to respect each other. The special thing which I want to share about is that children, we have festival celebrations in the classroom, not on the stage. Why? Because if they do it on the stage, there are 700 children, they get distracted. And hardly few children come to know about it. But if they do it in the class, then what happens? The concentration is there and everybody understands. And in the next picture, you can see they have class programs too. We've already spoken. Now, this is a very interesting area of our school, the tire playground. It's the extension of the classroom learning. Playground is a combination of mud play, sand play, clay, and nature. Physical, social, emotional, and cognitive development happens when the children come to the playground. It is a place for inner peace. On the right-hand side, can you see some children using the water body? There are children sitting far away and they want to bring water to there. So what they have done, they have made a drain and the water is coming towards them. So see how they are developing the scientific temperament. The peer group learning is there and they are also learning. Later on, they will connect it again with their early childhood experiences. Then this playground has 1.5 feet sand in depth, because we want that when the children are on the swings, they do not get hurt. And all the swings are interconnected. If they are on one swing, they can move to the other swings without stepping their foot on the sand. But in the seesaw, there is a special thing I'll share with you all. See the girl who is sitting on the seesaw, her feet are above the sand. This is specially designed because the tire is touching the ground, but the child's feet are above the ground. Why? Because then they will not get hurt. So this tire playground is very special for them. And even the teachers love going and play with the children. I'll just share a video of the tire playground, a small video. See how they are using the banister slide? Yeah. And
This is risky play.
yeah.
Encourage risky play, you know.
Yeah. And the sand is there. So they know. And our uniform is such, denim jeans and t-shirts. So all rough and tough. Parents need not worry. Just dust it and they can wear the other day and come to school. See, They are so engrossed and they're so happy. This is what we want. We want the children to come happily to school. And you won't believe they do not want to go back to home. Parents come and tell us, ma'am, please tell them that they should come with us. So now this is the last activity of our day. That is called taking school to home, bye-bye circle. Actually, what happens when the children go back home, the parents and grandparents ask them, "Aaj school mein kya hua? What did you do in the school?" Then they are not, sometimes they are not able to tell them. So at the end of the day, the teacher recapitulates the day. She writes on the board and then she discusses it with the children. So they are able to carry it home. So we call it taking school to home. Now comes the part where in the beginning, everybody used to ask us all the time, your children are playing, involved in activities. How do they learn? How do you all assess? So we don't have exams. It's an ongoing observation of the child. Teacher makes notes of 6 to 7 children a day. The child is always changing, so she tries to help the child whenever required. In parent-teacher meetings, we give feedback to the parents and discuss the child's development. We also involve the parent in the child's development as the child is very much influenced by his parents, his or her parents. We conduct parents' workshops to discuss how they can help the child at home. We work with the child as an individual, as every child has a different need. So we are able to build up on the child's strength. These components help to create a relaxing, non-stressful, yet challenging environment where they learn at their own natural pace. We have report cards, which are like a history, or you can say a case study of a child. We work on the development of the child rather than judging a child.
Thank you, ma'am.
Over
Wonderful.
to you, Kabir sir.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, we are just starting sharing the video.
Yeah.
Welcome again. A pleasure to listen to you both now. I'm sure everyone is waiting to know how you transform the spaces there, what they've been seeing. So what is Bala and how does it support the teaching learning process in JD Bal Sadan? Could you please elaborate?
Yeah, sure. We both, Preeti and myself, we are both architects, and we have been developing government schools and Anganwadis for a long time now. And developing preschools or Anganwadis is slightly different from developing the schools. And hence, it requires a slightly different treatment and also a sensitivity to develop it. Before I dwell into this whole topic, I would like to also point out something that very often when the discourses on holistic child development and learning are happening, the significance of space is usually undermined. And it's very important. And, we feel that space is a very important ingredient for holistic child development and learning. It doesn't matter whether an architect designs it or not. The point is that we must be responsive and sensitive about the space which is being built around the child. Now, in our case, in this particular building, we have not tried to paint the building in colorful hues and shades. Rather, building is a backdrop, and it is also a means to achieve the vision of holistic child development and natural learning. So it is the child who is in the focus, the child's work and the teacher, they are the focus. And the building and its elements have to remain in the backdrop to support that. And that's how all the all the different spaces that you see are developed. Now, uh, now it is very important that, I mean, so the various spaces that you see here, whether those tire playgrounds or the nooks and corners, or the classrooms that you see, all these small details that have gone into it in creating those spaces, whether they're corridors, courtyards, and the elements that constitute it, whether the floor, the wall, the pillar, the arches, everything, it is basically focused on child development. And various elements that you'll see, and we'll elaborate on that in a while, whether it is the light, whether it's the air, or it's the any other element, the natural element like the nature, it's all designed and detailed out from the child's perspective and the kind of pedagogy that you just saw in great amount of detail. Uh, so basically, our vision is to achieve holistic child development and natural learning. And that is the focal point, rather than making an iconic building. So we don't believe in creating an iconic building in isolation. Rather, we believe that the very purpose of a school is not making building, it's education. We focus there.
So, our starting point is that we do a very detailed mapping of developmental needs of children in all domains, and whether it is social, emotional, cognitive, or physical. And we try to find out that what are the activities which will support that. And also we do a very detailed analysis of what are the typical behavioral patterns that children exhibit in space. And we have understood, through detailed interaction with Anjali ji and her team, that the natural behavioral patterns of children usually support development. They foster child development, so they need to be encouraged and not curbed. For example, children have this natural tendency of scribbling on floor, on walls, and they tend to do a lot of pretend play at this age, making sense of the word through their play. They like to pretend read. They like to push and pull furniture and things like that. So it gets translated, spatially. This is how it gets translated, that we create we in a classroom we have created different pockets of spaces to foster different kind of activities. For example, this library corner, children can read while sitting, or there is a mattress, so they can lie down, they can sit in whatever posture they are comfortable in. All the books are displayed at their eye level, and it displayed in a way that the cover is visible to the child, so that they can pick up any book that they want to read, and it also sort of invites them. All the floors are writable, in the sense the tiles that have been put in the floor, they have been very, very carefully selected so that children can scribble on it. And the chalkies that you see, they are very lightweight. They can be easily manipulated by children. The edges are round. They are very safe. The top is writable again, so they do a lot of scribbling on the chalkies itself, and they manage it on their own. There is a lot of display surface in the classrooms. As Anjali madam has already mentioned, that each child is unique and each child is important. So it's important that the work of each child is displayed, not of certain children only, but of each child. So there is a lot different kind of displays that we have provided, whether it is for two-dimensional things or for three-dimensional. They go for nature walks, they collect a lot of materials, so different kind of displays. There are different kind of fantasy area, circle time, all kind of activities that take place in these classrooms. And all these have been put at a very child accessible height, storage, everything, so that Anjali madam also mentioned that as a part of their mission, they want to raise responsible children. So children cannot become responsible unless and until they learn to do their own things. And for that, the space has to be very facilitative. It should be very accessible so that they learn to take things and keep it back. Another behavior that children tend to, exhibit very frequently. They love to walk around a pillar. They love to climb on walls. They love to peek. They love to sit on top of a wall, jumping from height, crawling, and things like that. So this is a mystery wall that has been given in one of the courtyards, and you can see that all these behavioral, behavior which children love to do is facilitated by this particular element. And in the process, there is a lot of social, emotional, cognitive, all kind of development, physical development that is happening. So the whole space of the school is has many such elements which help in fostering development. Now, like Anjali ji said, that children do not learn only within the four walls of a classroom. So we have tried to use every nook and corner of the school to provide various kind of learning experiences. In this, you can see that there are corridors with a lot of writable surface, and since in which a host of activities take place, and since these resources have to be very open-ended, because they will be used for different kind of activities. Like a child is also learning to walk around the center line, so finding gross motor movement, coordination, balancing, so much is happening. So this simple resource is being used in multiple ways: sorting, classification, as you can see in photographs. It fosters a lot of activities, and it is not just a circulation space, no longer just a circulation space. And another good thing is that since many children are doing activity in a larger space, teacher can do the monitoring very well. They can so the time management of the teacher also is facilitated. Next slide. So what is Bala? In a nutshell, Bala is about using all the spaces of a school, whether it is the classroom, the corridor, the courtyard, the staircase block, the terrace, any leftover space, the reception, any space of the school in such a way that it fosters development and learning. And also each element of the school, whether it is the wall, the floor, the furniture, the doors, windows, anything, you use it in such a way that it helps in, it becomes very child-centric and fosters development. And we have tried to, after very detailed collaboration with the pedagogues, with Anjali ji's team, we have sort of developed a huge pool of ideas to fuel inquisitiveness and exploration, imagination, and creativity of children. And we'll give you some examples. It's very difficult to cover everything in a presentation, but we'll try to just do that. So there is this element which we call Golthara, which is given in classrooms for a lot of activities. So I would also like to mention that there is a graded complexity. The needs of children of lower grades might be very different from the needs of children who is in a higher grade. So in the left side picture, you will see that Goltara is given in a very basic form, and children are using for one set of activities. But in a higher grade, it is more complex, and it is being used for a lot of activities of classification, sorting, and children are using it in different postures. And it will be used across, for building a lot of pre-numeracy, pre-language skills, for a lot of creative exploration and so many different things. This is an example of how the window grill is being used as a pre-writing pattern. Usually grills, are need to, and they are given in windows, but they make the room look very jail like. But in this school, all the grills have also been designed, and the child, when they move a bead across the grill, their fine motor movement is getting developed, and also eye hand coordination and so many things. And also in the left side picture, it is also used as a pre-numeracy aid.
So innovative, right? I'm sure no one has ever thought about this.
Corridors, again, a lot of resources are integrated here. There is a number line, an open-ended number line with different shapes in the corridor floor, and the shapes are usually the shapes that we have picked. It is as per the curriculum of these grades, and simple shapes. And children, as you can see, children are doing a lot of activities. And the very beautiful thing that we would like to just emphasize upon is that, unlike when a child works on a note copy or on a drawing copy or something, then the space is very limited. But when they're they remain outside of that notebook or a drawing copy, but here they become a part of that. And there is a lot of collaboration and peer group cooperation also that is going on. So in the right side photograph, if you see, we asked this child what she's doing, and she said that she has drawn a river, and there are, if you can see, there are fishes in that river, and she is in that river, so spatially she's within that whatever she has created. So so there is an expanse that space provides, which gives um, uh, uh, more space for exploration for children.
And imagination too.
Yes, these are very hardcore architectural elements, parapet walls, louvers. But Anjali ji's team has already also developed a lot of activities around these very hardcore architectural elements, and children use it for a host of activities. This is how Bala is being used in along staircase. Some glimpses of that. So there are a lot of writable surfaces along railing. On the these rises and treads also, there is a lot of writable surfaces, and children do use it for a lot of ascending and descending activities. They do a lot of one-to-one correspondence. There is a pipe phone railing, and children love speaking through this pipe phone railing. And of course love to scribble and draw and do many activities around these staircase. So staircase no longer just remains a circulation space, it is much more than that. These are some glimpses of how Bala has been incorporated in the courtyards of this school. So like this splash pool, this is a multiple use splash pool. None of the Bala elements is given for a solitary use, because when so much of investment is being made in making a resource, it should be very, very open-ended and should be used in multiple ways. So this splash pool, children, of course, when it is filled with water, they just love playing with it. But otherwise, this becomes a space for a storytelling session when it is dry. It also acts like a small stage for some kind of a small, group activity. Children also do a lot of writing and scribbling and artwork, using the edges, and they also display it here. The textures have been provided in the courtyards, and so a lot of sensory stimulation, and the courtyard becomes a space for a lot of sensory stimulation of all kind, colors, textures, temperature, you name it, sounds, even fragrances. So a lot many things. This is how terraces are also used as a setting for various activities, and there are a lot of resources which are loose material that is available in the school, which is again provided kept very accessible at very accessible height for children, and they use it for a host of activities. There is a pool, there is a small shallow pool on the terrace. Of course, it helps in controlling the insulation, the heat gain in the building because there is water in summer. So that is one part, the architectural part of it. But children, a lot of activities have been developed by Anjali ji's team, so like how sound changes when an object is does if in water or in air, how the sound of an object changes, the what floats, what sinks, what is heavy, what is light, the how water can be filled in different shapes, so many activities that they have built around these resources. Another glimpse of terrace, there is a rail line which grows, and children love to watch that train also going.
So these classrooms where we earlier saw the various corners when Anjali ji was showing about the learning corners. These corners are essentially also an input for us to develop Bala settings and resources. So these are also more specialized in nature, and what happens here is also geared towards the pedagogy. So for instance, if you look at this classroom here, you may recall that in the vision and the mission part, she mentioned about responsibility, which means self-discipline. And self-discipline is how do you kind of program it in the whole process and how the built environment also responds to it. So example of that will be the accessible storage that you can see on the side. For instance, that's a manipulative area where children are going to take out things, do certain activity, but at the end of it, they are also supposed to keep it back. So it has to be accessible. Similarly, the hardware fittings, whether they are in the windows or the doors, children can open it. So it is at their accessible height. So when they are smaller children, they may not be able to maneuver the whole thing, but whatever they are able to maneuver, they are able to do it. So care has been taken that while adults are also present, but children are very much there. So everything has to be for the child, from the child's perspective. Literally, I mean, many things have been designed while putting ourselves into the child's shoes. So, you basically, the idea is to translate that vision that Anjali ji shared with you into the built environment also. So where it can essentially look at, so we look at the book corner, for instance, it has a pre-writing grill, a low height seat, a display provision for books, a mattress to relax, and of course, a print-rich space. Now, some of these resources are built in and some of the resources are brought in by the school management. Similarly, the central space, I mean, you saw that earlier. This is just a circle, but actually it is used for a whole range of activities for nursery. And those activities are about body, eye coordination. It could also be about writable, writing and scribbling. So, I mean, these are all surfaces which are writable surfaces. And then, of course, as I was telling you about the manipulative area, so it has that storage, but it also has the display and keeping things in an ordered manner. And in all this, because children are very energetic, they just move very fast and they may not be aware of an edge somewhere. So it is very important that we take care of the safety factor. So that safety factor is very much built in. As Anjali mentioned about that the classroom, I mean, it is not the four walls within of a classroom within which the learning is confined. So it can happen anywhere, even in the outdoors. Now, this is a space under the tree where a storytelling session is going on. Now, for this space to function the way it is functioning, there are certain things which are very critical and important in the design. So, for instance, if you look at this space, there will be things like the height of the stage or the seating platform. It has to work in different seasons. So it has to be thermally insulated because children are going to directly sit on it. We are not going to put any mat in most cases. So the material that is being used, whether it is bricks or mud, it has to be thermally insulated. And then, of course, the tree itself, and you might have recalled she was mentioning about acacia tree. The plantation has been done very sensitively so that children get natural learning materials. On the other hand, we have also planted trees which are winter deciduous. So you get the sunlight under the tree during the winters like this season, but you don't get it during the summer. So they are shaded. So with this, the quality of what happens in the child's mind space, an example of that is here. You can just see the whole diversity of what this child must have brought in from the nature outside. I mean, the diversity of leaves, the flowers, and how it has been so creatively used. I mean, I couldn't have imagined. So
Very beautiful.
this is where, and now it is very important that these materials are not bought, but they are accessible to the child so that she can choose or he can choose of what is available and how creatively they want to use it. These spaces, and as we heard earlier, one of the dilemma that as an architect we face is that a child is growing and growing very fast and is very energetic, but the building is fixed. How do you reconcile to this? That's one question. The second is, if we make everything permanent and not something open-ended, then it becomes very constraining. So you see many of these spaces which are just settings for children to discover, for teachers to discover. As they grow, as they evolve, they may come up with something new which we may not have even thought of. What you see on the left is a child who are tracing the shade, but it was originally designed as a bench. But very deliberately, it is a wide enough bench at a child's accessible height, which can also be used in multiple ways. So this is a very deliberate attempt to let the space flow, just as the children move and their learning moves in different spaces.
This also teaches about light, the properties of light, how the shadow is cast, how the sun is moving in a very, very child-friendly manner. And also helping in eye-hand coordination and things like that. So the setting is facilitating all these activities.
True. So much of thought.
And what you see here are two courtyards. And what I would like to mention here is that it is dotted with multiple settings. The two courtyards are not identical, and they have multiple small settings and resources which are integrated into it, and these are also open-ended. So if I just highlight a few, so for instance, if you look on the left photograph and the left-hand side of it, you see a zigzag kind of a thing happening on the floor, whereas on the back of that mystery wall that you saw earlier, there's a curved kind of a floor, and on the right, there is a straight line. Now, these are small little things because this is the nursery section where children can coordinate with their movement and body in multiple ways. You have these circular pillars. And now it's a natural behavior for a child to move circular, along a pole or a pillar. So you have cyclic ideas. This could be about germination of a seed or a water cycle or phases of moon as they grow into, a later phase. If you look at it very carefully, even the windows, the louvers have been painted in different ways, and they can be used in different ways. And that is where the collaboration between the teachers, the pedagogues, and the architects happen, because all these ideas have to evolve over a period of time. No two spaces are alike in these buildings. If you look at it very carefully, you will find that children will find very unique spatial experiences in every nook and corner. So it doesn't become a kind of a monotonous or stale in the process. So in other words, it is a response to a child learning all the time, everywhere, in a very practical, physical way. Now, this is done through creating the seamlessness of settings and resources which are scattered in abundance across the entire environment. Whatever technical understanding of various sciences which go into the architectural designing are there. We have tried to use that to focus on the child, their caregivers, and the teachers. So for instance, I mean, there are standards which are available outside from ICMR and WHO about child's anthropometrics. Even UNESCO did a lot of study on that. But we find that India is so diverse that those standards somehow do not work. So we need to be region specific. And in this case, when we are talking about a child growing so fast, whatever wash facilities are being created, whatever other spaces are being created, is very important to keep that in mind. What kind of size will they occupy when they are doing an activity? So for instance, this is a corridor. And at this point of time, you can see how much focus, concentration each child who is working here has. But now here it's again a collaboration where the school management and the timetable takes care that when this activity is taking place, single line or a row can still pass, but not a whole chunk of children would pass through this space. Now, that discipline is also inbuilt in the programming of the whole, day that you just saw from Anjali ji a while ago. Now, all those things in this particular case, for instance, you need a certain kind of light, certain kind of wind movement and safety when you're using these kind of spaces. All those things are very much part of it. All the surfaces are writable surfaces, especially all the floors. And whether you are using a Jaisalmer stone or using Udaipur green stone or using a ceramic tile, they are all writable, and they have been researched quite well over a period of time. So, and on one fine day, you would find Anjali ji and her team and children and us and the contractor and the tile layer and everybody moving with the chalk and writing on all kinds of samples that we had on the site to find the right balance of what will work. It should give sufficient contrast. So we would also take inputs from the maintenance team about how much maintenance it requires. So we take into account the hygiene component, because children are moving on it, writing on it, putting their hand, they are also putting their shoes. So how do we take care of all those things together is addressed through a lot of research. But this is again focused, as I said earlier, towards the child. We did a very detailed 30-year IMD data analysis for IMD is the Indian meteorological data which you get from the government of this place, to understand how the climate behaves in this area and how we respond to that behavior. So how do we ensure? It's a very compact site. We have very little open space outside, and yet we have tried to make the maximum in terms of light, ventilation, in different times of the day. So we don't have much kind of use of electricity and mechanical means to keep the building comfortable. Now, this is critical because you need to engage with this climatic data in a profound way. So we have used these different sciences, whether physical planning, functionality, spatial relationships, the specifications that have gone into it, the climatology, and so on, to focus on the child. Ayodhya, as we know, and now it's going to be the most important city in a day or two, is dotted with all kinds of monuments, and there's a whole range of stuff which one can learn from, and we have tried to imbibe some of it, from the local monuments, and how the building can also respond to it. I'm just going to share one small example here, but there are many more and more deeper than. So this is a particular arch from one of the monuments here, which we also thought is very, very child-friendly in some ways. It has some proportions which are very child-friendly. And of course, this comes from Khajuri Masjid. And Ayodhya, by the way, is also an interfaith place, very much interfaith place. And so how we respond to that and how we create the messy space that we saw a while ago, here. Now, these are the kind of the ways in which, and the brickwork, exposed brickwork is something which has been a tradition in this part of the country. And what we have done here is to create a thermally insulative wall, a very different way of using the bricks, but all exposed brickwork, using the same process that they used to employ earlier. Now, you did see this mystery wall a while ago, and what all it does. So there's a lot of planning which has gone into it. For instance, all the spaces must remain in visual command of the caregivers and the teachers, because they are very young children, and they're in a space which has this all kinds of things scattered all over. But we have to keep in mind whether the messy space, whether it's a courtyard or a mystery wall or a terrace, that everything is in the visual command of the teachers and the caregivers. All these writing surfaces that we were mentioning, the corners, the edges, all the functional requirements of children, they are all addressed in the minutest detail in the design. So before I end, I would like to point out two small things. One is that the entire process was porous. I would say we did not take a ready-made design in the first case. We took a kind of a porous design. We did a lot of consultation with the whole team, whether it is the client group, the school management, or whether it is the pedagogues or with the teachers, to understand various needs. We took a lot of observations, a lot of studies for understanding the various requirements in the building. Once this framework was ready and a broad design was there, we again discussed with the contractor and the artisans about the technology of what we are going to employ. They're totally new to this technology, what has been used in this particular building in terms of the masonry work. But they were able to learn it very fast because it uses the same principles. What you see in the center is a contractor who is discussing. So there are a lot of things which have happened in the process of construction, where we did not take a ready-made design from the word go. Now, why was this done? This is done, one, to have creative stake of everyone who's involved, and to also empower them, and to create fundamentally a sense of ownership. And this ownership is so critical in this case, because without that ownership, you won't have a kind of harmony that you need to have in this environment. So if the pedagogy and the built environment harmonizes, it is also because of that ownership. If there are many other things which are happening in this environment, it is because of that ownership. And lastly, where I would like to finally end, is the fact that the architectural engagement for developing this kind of a built environment doesn't end with just construction of the building. It goes beyond that, where it is also about involving and empowering teachers with the knowledge and understanding of how they can very creatively use the available space. Now, that is where I think, a lot of juice lies. Because if we just make a building and that's the end of it, it is very frustrating. I mean, it doesn't kind of go beyond that. But if we are really sincere about what kind of outcome we are looking for, I think it's very critical that we design it and we empower the teachers on how creatively they can use it. Their usual formal training doesn't equip them with creative use of spaces. But here, when you meet the teachers, you will find every day they are discovering something new. Every day they are doing a new activity which may not have been there. So the entire ecosystem is like now very creative in the process. So I would end here, and thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thanks.
Amazing, sir. Hats off, hats off. I mean, I was spellbound. I couldn't ask you anything in the middle, though I kept, sharing some adjectives. Okay, now just two quick questions to Ms. Anjali.
Yeah.
Do you have any other branches of your school in Ayodhya, ma'am?
We don't have other branches. Next, Kabir sir slide. But we have a teachers training institute.
Okay.
This teachers training, our whole success of the school, this institution is the pillar of the success of the school. Why? Because the teachers come with that belief. We consider our teacher trainee as the most important person to impart values and all the learning to the child. What they do here, they first do practicals and then they relate it with the theory, and they get a lot of exposure in taking up the classes also. So this teachers training institute, they not only help in in getting the understanding of how to deal a child, but they are also helpful to the teachers in the class, because the teacher is able to give special attention to each child. She can work with an individual child. So these teachers are teacher training institute is the one of the, you can say, pillar of JBNSS society.
Yes, ma'am.
We also have some outreach activities where we have started schools for rag picking families, children, children for brickle families, and for this balwaris in other rural areas. So Here, the
wonderful.
children have rich experience, especially in maths, because these rag picker children, they go for collecting rags and then they sell it out. So they have a lot of experience of maths. The language they use is the local language. So what we do is take advantage of their experiences and build academics based on that. We give respect to the local language.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure you must have faced a lot of challenges initially because your methods,
Yeah.
what you're doing is very different. So, can you just share a little about
Yeah.
that?
Sure. Next, yeah, we had lot of challenges, like parents' belief in this pedagogy. We started this pedagogy in 1997, though we were doing the playway method earlier, but this pedagogy started in 1997, and we had withdrawals because parents, they are not doing written work, they are not having exams, nothing is there, so just children are playing around. But and then teachers understanding and belief in the system, because this was also a big challenge for us. Teachers did not have, because in this pedagogy they have to be on their toes for the whole day. They are researching, they are working, they are attending workshops, ongoing trainings is going on for them. So a lot of work is going for the teachers. So for this we had, and how we overcame these challenges. Yeah, we had lots of parents workshops. Till date we have parents workshops, and we take up the pedagogy, we do it in the class, and these parents understand. And then we did home visits, one-to-one counseling was there. For this only we started our Teachers Training Institute, and this is our 25th year of our Teachers Training Institute. We are celebrating the silver jubilee year of our Teachers
Wow.
Training Institute. And
Congratulations.
each class became a lab for teacher trainings. So this is how we overcame our challenges. And I tell you now, it's a success story, admission pressure.
So, what is the total size of your? I mean, how many children are there in the school?
We have 30 children in each class, not more than that. And one teacher, one nursery nurse, and two teacher trainees. So there are 4 adults in each class. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm taking up the question answer a few questions that have
Yeah.
come also
Yeah.
because
Sure.
it was so interesting that we crossed the time.
Yeah.
So someone has asked from YouTube, what if they start scribbling at home since they don't know the difference? So
Pardon?
do you think, what if the children start scribbling at home because you're allowed to scribble at school?
Yeah. So because we train the parents also, I told you. So the parents know they have to give a corner to the child. They put a paper on the wall, and we tell the parents, allow the child to scribble. And then you can keep changing the paper. You can put a brown paper, you can put a newspaper, and allow the child. We tell the parents, if you all have a cemented floor, give the child, and then you do the mopping. So, but give opportunities to the children. So now the parents have also understood. They feel happy. They've made small learning centers. They made a library area at home because they wanted to develop the reading habit. So we tell them that when you give them a gift, like you bring chocolates, you bring toffees, you bring toys. So the children use it once, the toy. He takes a toy, he uses it once, and then he keeps it. But if you put books and you also sit with the child and read, you'll see he'll develop the habit of reading. So that is how motivating parents, counseling parents, it's ongoing. It's ongoing. And
Excellent.
we are very happy that parents are satisfied. Parents are very satisfied. You can say 100% satisfaction is there. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Do you have any teacher attrition? Do teachers
Uh,
leave your
yes, they do leave, but only when they get married or if they are being transferred. Otherwise, here it's like they it's
Yeah,
they
thank you.
want to join the school, and to join the school, they sometimes they do this teachers training. because we
That's
take the best ones, because we
that's
recruit the best ones.
good. Wonderful. How do children do self-assessment? You spoke about self-assessment. How does
Yes. I'll give you an example. Suppose the children are in the block area. So the children are making a train, and one child is making a train. So he made a train, and then he said, "Oh, I forgot to make a track." Then he started making a track. Then the other child is telling him, "Your train is not moving. Why don't you use the cylindrical blocks?" So this is how self-assessment and
peer
assessment by the peer. So both is happening simultaneously.
Wonderful. This question is for Preeti and Kabir sir. Are there any other schools following Bala sir? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, there are. See, we have been working for a very long time with the governments. I mean, we have done very selectively very few private schools because we felt that whatever we have developed, whatever we have learned, is something which should travel to places, to people who cannot afford to either have architects or the design inputs. And the first choice in that case was the government schools. And there have been different collaborations, and the original research for Bala was also supported by UNICEF, UNICEF India, and it has gone to, I would say, through the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan to about 19 states and union territories in different shapes and forms, let me tell you. And so that count is pretty large. And later on, and we had not done the full research for the preschools and Anganwadis for a long time, but it was much later, towards, I would say, 2010, that the first time we started doing that work in Chhattisgarh, in the central India, and in the urban and the travel areas. So some of the initial ideas were actually implemented there. And that was the time when we realized that there is so much that needs to be done in the preschool and the Anganwadi age group across the country. And so in a way, you could say we graduated from schools to Anganwadis. And this graduation really, I think, was also an important one, because we could see how minimal resources are actually required to build so many things. And working with the Anganwadis really opened our eyes to so many new aspects which we were not even aware, maybe while working with the school systems. So that was how it started. But then later on, we did a lot of research based on the ground experience, and also while working with the people who are professionals in child development. And in fact, some of the names that you showed about these organizations in the very beginning, like Ms. Ananda Lakshmi, I mean, we had her blessings when we started working on Bala. And we took her guidance, because we involved Lady Irwin, Department of Child Development. And they were very much part of developing many of these Bala ideas and the research studies in the initial phase. So if you actually ask me the count, has this been implemented elsewhere? It actually runs into few lakhs, because this has disseminated on its own, in its own way. As far as our specific direct engagement is concerned, we have worked for Anganwadis with state governments in Madhya Pradesh, in Chhattisgarh, in Maharashtra, Gujarat, with West Bengal, with Bihar. I mean, these are the states where we directly worked with the ICDS directorates for them to, make the Anganwadi systems better by way of also developing their school, the Anganwadi environments more responsive and sensitive. But not all has really reached out in the spirit that one would have ideally liked it to. There's a lot that needs to be done in that. As far as the private sector is concerned, very few, and we were very fortunate to have Manjula ji and the Jingle Bell Nursery School Society and people like Anjali ji here. And I can see participants like Beena Agrawal, who really made a huge difference in, taking a lot of initiative in creating this synthesis possible, where the pedagogy and the built environment can really be very creatively synthesized, which is why you could see that kind of creativity in the people that they have. And I would also like to thank people who are probably watching, like Dinesh and Ruth, who have been the pedagogues who have helped a lot in developing the backbone of whatever you are seeing here in terms of the pedagogical interventions.
So Mahalakshmi ji, the whole, the Bala construction is quite process oriented, as you would have seen. And so it requires a lot of time for the design to evolve. You have to interact with teachers, you have to understand the needs, you have to map the child. So the school management also has to be willing to give that kind of time.
Very,
So
very
which was
true.
possible in this case. And wherever it is possible, then this kind of synergy does happen.
Many a times, the teachers would want to do certain things, but the management or the principal, if they are not supportive, then this can never happen, right? So that is very, very true. You need everyone to be, completely in it. Another small question: is this the first school that you started, Balas? I mean, that you worked with, Preeti and Kabir sir? Is
No,
JDS Bal Sadan the first school that you implemented, Bala?
No,
No.
like Kabir mentioned, we started, experimenting with Bala ideas way back in 1997 while we were working in Rajasthan for a project called Lok Jumbish program. So it was implemented in many schools in collaboration with state governments or with UNICEF. But as a private entity, Jingle Bell Balls.
Another same thing they want to ask you. What is the one thing you feel you should have included in this design in JB Bal Sadan and construction? Do you think I should have done this or we could have done this? Have you ever felt that?
Actually, Mahalakshmi ji, that is the beauty of this collaboration because, like Kabir mentioned, there is a lot of iteration that keeps going on. So it is not as if, we have stopped the engagement once the building is complete. So almost every year or few months, we have, we come up with ideas, they're very open. We do a lot of collaboration and then we experiment with new things and it is allowed by the management. And there are teacher workshops with teachers and teachers also come up with new ideas. We also come up with new ideas and it is implemented. So usually, luckily, we are very fortunate in that sense that we after the building was completed, still that thing is going on and we come up with many new ideas. That happens.
So it's like a tree which keeps on growing. And
Very
I think that's the analogy I would like to use to answer this question, because there's nothing that is amiss. I mean, you don't say that this plant is incomplete just because it's so young right now. It keeps on growing. So I think that's how this relationship is. And that's how I think that's the beauty of it also, I would say.
Like just few months back, we had a long chat with, teachers, with Anjali ji and many other teachers, and we worked on this, how the movement of the sun, the light aspects can be incorporated into very child friendly activities and which spaces can be used and how it can be done, and how the scientific temperament can be built. So at the end of the day, learning is all about understanding the natural phenomena around us, the sun, the wind, the properties of water, and things like that. So what all little activities can be built? We had a long session and they they implemented so many things, and it just keeps on growing.
I love the fact that the natural light coming in and you don't use artificial. I mean, like you don't need not switch on lights. So that was also beautiful. Anjali, ma'am, this is for you. What do you feel is the best part of working in a Bala Design School? And what would you like to add also, maybe?
First of all, we are thankful to Kabir sir, Preeti ma'am, and their team for giving us the infrastructure to imbibe our pedagogical practices, and for which JB Bal Sadan is known for. So, like for you can say like we keep growing, like we keep adding to it. And what we are like, we are very happy because children and the building, the pedagogy, the building is helping our pedagogy. It's helping. Like whatever we want, we have the outdoor spaces, the corridors, the courtyards, the ramps, the staircase, the terrace. So where the children can move freely. And at this age, we don't want to create boundaries for the children. If you create a boundary, the expressions will be lost. So that is how we want to go.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. There's another question for you, ma'am. You said 30 children in class.
Yeah.
So how many classes like this do you have in your school?
Actually, we have 6 sections for each class and a mentor for
So you
that
have
class.
playgroup, nursery, LKG, and
Playgroup,
UKG.
UKG,
So 24,
yeah. So
24 sections.
yeah. So we have 21 classes. Yeah.
20.
But in this building, we have 18 classrooms, and the playgroup has a separate campus in the same. It's the same campus, but a separate, you can say, infrastructure for them, because
nice.
they need a cozy place. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Very nice. Very well thought of. So you have around 700 children, I think, in this.
Yes.
And they're here for 4 hours. How long do they stay in your
Yes, they are here for 4 hours, but the playgroup children are there for 2.5 hours. And we allow the parents to sit in the class. We also have a lot of parents' involvement. We allow the parents, if the child has not yet settled, we allow the parent to sit in the class, and it's open. We have voluntary teaching. We have a lot of programs for the parents. We call them to observe the classroom. Then they come for the wind-ups. We have the PTMs. Then we invite them for different programs. So it's like both going hand together. Parents and the school going together. Without parent support, we cannot work. And of course.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think,
I
mean, listening to both of you, a lot of research, a lot of thought, and every little detail has been taken care of. If you look at the construction, what activities, the height of the child, and I mean, all this is so impressive. And yes.
At last, I would like to say one thing.
There is one more question which has come, ma'am. What are the working day timings for the teacher?
Teacher comes in the morning. She comes 15 minutes before, but after the school, she stays back for an hour and prepares the class for the other day. They sit together, they sit with the mentor, they decide, they design, they plan, and then if they have any difficulty, then they come to me, they discuss with me. When they do the planning of the project, they come to me. When they write observations, if there are such cases which are to be looked into, they discuss with me. So it's all a teamwork. It's like going together.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank
and
you so much.
In the end, one thing in the end, yes. I would like to thank our director, ma'am, Mrs. Manjula Jhunjhunwala, who is a pedagogue herself. And because of her, this JBNSS is doing such a wonderful work. Under JBNSS, we have so many schools. So many schools means this buildings from nursery, playgroup to upper KG, then class 1 to 5, then the third one. Then we have a school for rural area children. then outreach activities we have this Teachers Training Institute, and then we have lots of, and we are working for the environment a lot. And we are sensitizing the children too.
Congratulations, Miss Manjula. Thank you so much for, giving them all these opportunities to be able to do so many things for the children under your care. Thank you so much. I think it's been a very, very insightful session and lots of learning and takeaways for all the participants today. I'm sure they didn't even realize that the time has flown. But so
you
much
all
of
are always welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
On behalf of AECD,
Thank you, everybody.
a big thanks to all the three of you and everyone who has
Thank you.
been instrumental in creating this. Sir, it is an iconic palace only. I mean, it is a beautiful architectural marvel.
It's a paradise. It's a paradise.
Yeah, so much of life, and I would want to come and stay there at least